If you've ever looked at thrift flips or sewing and thought I could never ever do that, well, this video is for you. Today I'm showing you how to turn a basic t-shirt into the cutest Halterneck Cami top using really simple beginner friendly sewing. I'll first start by showing you what you need and then we'll go into it step by step. You'll just need a t-shirt, scissors, a sewing machine or a needle and thread. And by the way, if you are new here, I'm Chloe and I create beginner friendly thrift flip sewing tutorials. Let's get into it. So this is the t-shirt that I'm using. It's definitely in need of some TLC. The collar's kind of discoloured. You can get one from the charity shop for literally like £2. Cut off the sleeves if you have them and open one of the side seams. So now I'm going to cut the top in half. I say in half, but probably a little past halfway. The bottom half will be for the bottom half of the top and this will be used for the cups. So I'm just going to put this top half to the side for now. Now for this piece, it will be bottom half of the top. I like to keep the bottom hem from the original t-shirt so that you don't have to hem it again. Or you can cut it if you want like a raw edge. If it's a stretch material, it wouldn't need to be hemmed anyway because it's very unlikely to fray. But I'm going to keep the original hem, which is this part here. So it's just nice and tidy at the bottom. So to work out the sizing, I'm going to use a top that I already have, which is this one, and it's one that just fits me perfectly, and that's the exact fit I want for this top. And I'm going to level it up with the side so that we only have one new seam to sew. And I'm literally just going to use this as a guide. If you want a shorter length, then I recommend maybe trimming this a little bit shorter. It all depends on how long you want your top. I want mine to be quite a long fitted top, so I'm going to leave it here. So this extra part, save that for later because I'm going to be using that for the straps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it so that the right sides are touching, so that it's inside out. I'm going to pin this edge. I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew this new seam closed. The holy grail. Okay, so I'm going to set my machine to a zigzag stitch because it is a stretchy fabric. So I'm just going to use a narrow zigzag stitch. So my machine's already on a zigzag stitch and I'm going to set it to a 3-ish in length. And the tension's going to be around 4 to 5. I'm going to leave a little bit of a seam allowance, lower my needle. And a little trick if you struggle to start off your seams without dragging the fabric into the mechanism below is hold your threads like this. Don't pull it too tight, but just hold it taut. And then as you sew, back stitch. It will completely prevent the fabric from getting sucked into your machine. So now we have pretty much created the bottom half of the top already. So if I turn it the right way out, ta-da! Now I'm going to go on to the hardest part. For the cups, I'm going to be cutting 2 sets of triangles. I don't measure these exactly. I actually just use my own body as a guide and then adjust as I go. The most important thing is starting bigger than you think for your size because you can always trim it down, but you can't add fabric back. As a rough guide, if you are struggling with cutting out the cups to fit your body, then I recommend getting a piece of paper and drawing a triangle with the width being from the centre of your bust to the outer side just underneath your armpit, and the height needs to be from underneath your bust up to where the neckline will begin. Always add a couple of centimeters just for the seam allowance as well. Now I've got my 2 sets of triangles. There's 2 here and 2 here. I'm going to pop these to the side just temporarily. Now I'm going to make the strap. So I'm grabbing the rest of the t-shirt fabric. I'm going to use my trusty rotary cutter to cut even strips out of the rest of the fabric. I'm going to make these about 1.5 inches wide. I'm not doing this completely accurately. I've done this so many times now that I can kind of tell how wide they need to be. Okay, so now I've got my strips. I cut about 4, 5, 30 centimeter strips so that it's definitely going to be long enough for the straps that I want. And now we need to join these together to make one big long strip. So the way that I do this is I'll grab 2 strips, place them right sides together at a right angle, like this. Like this. I'll show you up close in detail. So I grab 2 strips. I'm going to grab this end. This is the right side facing up. And I'm going to place it down onto the end of the right side of the other strip, like this. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to sew a narrow zigzag stitch from this corner up to this corner. Next, I'm going to trim this triangle off about 0.5 centimeters from the stitch line. And then if you look, when we open it up, it's a perfectly joined extra long strip. And I'm just going to continue to do this with the rest of the pieces. Get this strip and fold it over lengthways with the right sides together, joining the raw edge. I'm going to sew this raw edge closed to create one really long tube. Just having to refill my bobbin because it decided to run out. Oh. I can't tell you how frustrating it is when you're in the middle of sewing and your bobbin runs out and it hasn't even been sewing the whole way. I love when that happens. Okay, so now I'm left with this really long, ugly strip. We're going to turn it inside out. Okay, so I'm going to use a safety pin clipped right onto the end. Clip it onto the end like this. Insert the safety pin into the open end like this. So then you're going to do the push and pull method and it will slowly turn it the right way out. I mean, this bit's pretty boring, but you just have to persevere and trust the process. Nearly at the end now. I'm actually going to cut this in half. Just straight down the middle. So that I'm left with 2 straps. I'm just getting my triangles that I cut earlier on and separating them into 2 separate groups of 2. And these need to be right sides facing. Now I'm going to grab the straps that I made. I'm going to place one of them sandwiched in between one pair of the triangles, like so. And I'm just going to pin it in place. Do the same for the other triangles, just sandwiching it in the middle, leaving a little tail out at the end. I'm going to go ahead and pin or clip the other remaining sides. So now that I've pinned these and prepared them for sewing, I'm going to stitch right from this corner down to this corner and do the same on this triangle, but leaving this bottom edge open. When I get to the point of the triangle, I normally lift my presser foot and just manually turn it. There's one stitched up, now onto the next one. I'm going to just trim this point here, just to remove the bulk of the fabric for when we turn it the right way out. I'm going to turn this the right way out. Once you've turned your cups the right way out, I do recommend giving them an iron so that the seams lay completely flat. I'm just going to create a small dart in the front of them like this, just by pinching it a tiny bit and folding it over, just to give the bust cup a little bit more shape. The same to the other one. So I've just laid it flat and I'm simply just going to place it face down to the edge of the lower part of the top. And I'm just going to pin these edges together. Obviously not pinning it to the back edge. Do the same with the other cup. I like to make sure this middle part where the cups meet overlaps just ever so slightly so that there's no gap in the middle. I'm going to stitch all the way along this raw edge. Going to go along and trim any loose threads that I can see. I'm going to give it another press with my iron. So my top's actually finished, but I just think there's something missing. So I've decided that I'm going to add some rhinestones to it. So let's see how that looks. Got this really cool tool off eBay and it's a hot fix rhinestone applicator. I highly recommend if you love thrift flipping and customizing your clothes. And basically what it does is the rhinestones have a layer of hard glue on the back, and when you use this on top of them, it melts the glue and sticks it to the clothes. Handy little gadget, really. I think I'm going to use silver rhinestones. Yeah, I'm definitely going to use silver. Just going to go along this edge. Hold it down for 10 seconds. I'm going to attempt to make a star. Okay, so I'm just going to finish sticking these rhinestones down, and then I am done, and I'm going to show you the finished result in just a second. And that is the end of this tutorial. Thank you if you made it to the end of this video. I am so grateful. Feel free to give this video a like and subscribe. It would mean the absolute world to me, and it would allow me to create even more content like this in the near future, so that you guys can also learn to sew and create your own dream wardrobe. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.